Today we're doing two men's makeup looks perfect for the festive season. One is going to be a bit more effortless, really focusing on enhancing the masculine features in the face. The other one is going to build on that, but add a little bit more fun and a festive feel. No matter what or if you celebrate, you can do these looks for any special occasion. We'll get right into it. I just wanted to say I am Mattis, I make men's beauty content. So if you're interested in that, make sure to subscribe and say hi in the comments. Now get yourself a drink, relax, and we'll begin. Starting with a bare face, and I'm going to use the Liquid Peptide Serum by Medicate that I love so much, which is just a really lightweight anti-aging serum that combines well with any other products I will use after. It's lightweight and soothing on the skin and just creates the perfect canvas for anything that follows. As a next step, as a sort of eye cream, I'm going to use the Augustinus Bader, or in German Augustinus Bader, but I am going to use this as an eye cream. And you know, the price of these is relatively high, so I've just been using a very small amount like this, just tapped in around the eyes. I usually do this in the morning before I use my sunscreen, and I really have been enjoying this. I have found these great to use around the eyes. I will say that I am using the rich cream in the winter months, and I'm using the classic cream in the warmer months. It gives a nice plumpness to the eye area. It's really soothing and moisturizing, and I feel like I'm doing something that contributes to the sort of anti-aging regime that I have built up with my retinols, with my sunscreen. I just love the experience of them. Are they necessary? Absolutely not. Luxury skincare, I believe, is not necessary. You can absolutely get by with just sunscreen, washing your face every day, and using a very basic moisturizer. These are definitely a luxury, but I just always wanted to try them because of that hype and because you see them in all the celebrity bathrooms. Today, we're really gonna do a very luxurious routine. I wanna bring out some of my favorite products, some of the most luxurious products, because you know, it's a festivity, it's a special occasion. Whether you celebrate or not, this is really a makeup that is intended to be for a special occasion where you have some extra time, where you want to make yourself feel amazing. So following up, I'm going to use the Magic Water Cream, Charlotte's Magic Water Cream by Charlotte Tilbury. I don't know if I said before, but I used to work for Charlotte Tilbury. And of course, the brand is famous for the Magic Cream. And I've always loved Magic Cream because of the incredible scent, the beautiful tub. You know, again, it feels very luxurious. I love the whole experience of it. I love how it makes the skin glow. But for my skin, it was just always a bit too rich. And you know, I am breakout prone. It's just a bit too heavy for my personal skin type. But when they brought out the Magic Water Cream, I was so curious to try it. And the brand actually sent this to me, so I'm super, super grateful. But I adore it, and I'm so happy that there's a Magic Cream now that the ones that have oily skin, like myself, or combination skin, can also use. I've actually left some on here. But yeah, you can use it all over the face. It doesn't give you that really intense oily glow to the skin, but it definitely gives a nice sheen. If it was the daytime, I would apply an SPF now. Of course, we can't leave the house without an SPF on. But because it's dark already, I'm actually gonna skip that step and go straight into the makeup. I'm gonna use the Hollywood Flawless filter by the same brand, Charlotte Tilbury. And it comes in this beautiful glass bottle. Again, really sticking with that luxury theme. And I actually picked a slightly deeper shade than my skin. It's the shade number 4, medium. It's not, I mean, it is quite a bit darker than my skin because my skin is naturally really, really fair, but it has a really nice neutral undertone. So I will be able to blend this in really nicely and slightly deepen my skin without it looking too crazy. It won't be too orange looking because the color I chose doesn't have any orange in it whatsoever. It's almost more of an olive tone. Now keep in mind that this is actually sort of an illuminating primer type product. So it will give quite a bit of a glow to the skin. So I'm actually gonna stay away from my super oily areas, which is my forehead, my chin, and I'm gonna mainly keep this on the cheeks and a little bit down the center of the nose, which you can also skip if you get a really, really oily nose. I'm just gonna blend it in with my fingers. This product doesn't really have coverage, but it has a bit of a tint. So it will give a little bit of color, a little bit of a almost blurring effect to any redness you have. But you can definitely still see some of the spots and discoloration I have at the moment, which I'm gonna take care of later. If you have really dry skin, you can almost use this like a tinted moisturizer and just sort of rub it all over, and you will get a little bit of that blurring effect, a little bit of that evening out of the skin, but really without looking like foundation, which personally I'm just not that into. Of course, it's completely down to preference. I just don't love that all over intense coverage. I like a very, very sheer amount of coverage if I'm going to apply something all over the skin. And then we can move on to the next step, which is going to be concealer. And my fingers are really slippy now. But I'm gonna use the MAC Studio Radiance Concealer. It has the perfect color for me at the moment. And I'm just gonna really focus this on the center of the face and where I have those bits of redness or any little breakouts. I like a very concentrated coverage, so I'm really just gonna focus it mainly on the center of the face. Now the concealing step completely depends on your skin. You might not even need concealer at all. If you don't have any spots, you don't have any discolorations, don't have any redness, you'd be very lucky. I have those phases sometimes, but usually there's something I want to conceal. So using a concealer very, very targeted in small amounts is brilliant. And this has really good coverage, so you don't need a lot. I'm still onto my blending brush from Make Beauty. This is just such an incredible brush, and I honestly use this for everything. This is actually a brush I really, really recommend wholeheartedly. Something I wanted to say is, well, thank you, because I am about to be able to monetize this channel very, very soon, I think. And this is such a dream come true. I always wanted to be a YouTuber. I think I've said this a few times now, but it's true. I always wanted to be a YouTuber. I believe for like 10 years now, and I've tried a few times, but it just never stuck because of my ADHD, which I also mentioned, and because of self-doubt, etc. But you know, this time I feel like it's different because I have done a lot of work on myself. I'm in a different situation, and I'm gonna stick to it. It's really fun. It's really exciting. It's so lovely having you in the comments and having that conversation going, having you ask questions, and, you know, being able to make content that I hope you want to see and interact with. It's really, really fun. It's something I've always wanted. So it's not perfect. I can still see a few little things poking through, which honestly I don't mind. And I'm gonna move on to something I often forget until the last moment, which is actually lip balm. I have it sitting here on my lap. This is the Make Beauty, and it has this really beautiful plumping quality without being too, you know, spicy. I'm not meaning to flip you off, by the way. I am wondering if you like long videos, if you prefer short videos. What's the vibe? What do you love watching the most? Because that's really what it's about. I just personally love long videos. I love having them in the background while I do something else. I just feel like they're so relaxing. So I quite like long videos, but I feel like I'm maybe just gonna change it up. Sometimes I have longer ones, sometimes shorter ones. Let me know your thoughts. Now my skin feels really plump and hydrated, but I just want to take down the shine a little bit more in the center. So I actually use a tissue and I sort of pulled it in half. And now I'm using this really thin sheet to just slightly take down a little bit of the oil in the center of the face. I really want to keep the shine sort of on the cheeks and on the jaw, but I just want to take it down a little bit in the center, even around the eyes. In terms of, you know, the more laid back, very easy neutral blushes, there are two options that I'm thinking of. The first one is by Tata Harper, really pretty cream blush. And I have the color Jolie, which is quite a beautiful, very neutral, I would say, rose shade on my skin, at least. Very easy to blend. It's just effortless. It's brilliant. And in the same vein, I have one of my favorite blushes that I have discovered this year, and it's by MAC, and it's the Glow Play blush in the color, let me think. Oh, it's the color Blush Please. So again, really nice neutral rose shade, maybe a hint more nude. Oh yeah, you can see. Actually, compared to the Tata Harper one, it looks a lot more nude. Oh, I think I want to go with this one. This is, I have to say, my easiest, most effortless blush because I can just throw it on and it always looks good. But you know what? I feel like we should go with something a bit more special occasion because it's, you know, it's still a festive look. So today I'm actually gonna go for the Tata Harper Jolie blush, but you let me know if you want to see a very effortless, out the door, you know, handsome, but have no time sort of makeup look. And I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna use the MAC blush for it because it's exactly that. But today I'm going to use this beautiful rose petal shade that I just picked up a little bit on my finger, warmed it up, and then just tapping it on to the high points of the cheek. I'm just gonna buff that in with the Universal Blending Brush. I purchased this blush this year actually in April in Paris. I love to go to Paris on my birthdays. It's sort of a tradition. And I went with my boyfriend and this was sort of a little gift for myself actually. I picked this up for myself and I really, really enjoy it. It's just effortless, it's easy, it gives you that gorgeous flush. It's not too matte, not too shiny. It sort of just melts into whatever you placed underneath and sort of mimics that. So if you want to go more matte, it will work well, but if you want to go more shiny, it will also work really, really well. Now I'm just gonna pick up the excess that's left on my finger and take a little bit onto the nose. I feel like placing blush on the nose immediately makes the look a little bit more casual. And I do kind of want to keep the look more polished because, you know, it's a special occasion. It's not too casual, but we still want to look lively. And I feel like it always just brings everything together if you place blush not only on the cheeks, but sort of have it a bit all over. I feel like my body skin is still a little bit more tan than my face skin. So I'm actually going to use this Heat Stroke blush stick by Make Beauty. This is the color Toasted, which is exactly the look I'm going for. I want it a little bit toasted. I don't want to go full on deep bronze, but I just want to bring a little bit more warmth to the skin. And this also has this really nice shine to it. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of that. Now I've really loved these sticks by Make Beauty. There are a couple that I use. Actually, there are like 3 that I use regularly. This is actually one of the colors I don't use as much. And I saw it in my collection today and I was like, that needs to change. I want to use that as my bronzer. And whenever I have used this in the past, I remember it really melting into the skin, just as it does now. It's a beautiful formula. It does have a bit of glow to it. So if you're trying to prevent shine at all costs, it might not be the right formula for you. But if you don't mind a little bit of a glow, I think there's a really nice balmy sort of texture that really melts away and is quite sheer as well. You know, it's not too heavy coverage. Gone are the days where I go full on dark orange bronzer. These days, I have to say, I'm always on the verge of being tempted to just lay off the self-tanner completely and embrace the pale skin. But you know what? I think it would be a lot of fun to do a very cool toned makeup version of this. Maybe like a Christmassy, like festive or New Year's-y look that is very cool toned. Just embracing my fair skin. Not using any bronzers, just more contoured perhaps. Do you see how incredibly beautifully this all melted in? The blush and the bronzer, they just combined into one, and I just have this subtle warmth all over. That's exactly what I wanted. Now I will take a hint on the neck as well. Not too much, but just like a little bit, just to make sure that there is no difference between the face and the neck. And this is actually where this brush is not ideal because it's still quite small. So I'm actually going to use this huge brush from Real Techniques. Next step is contour, and this is something I never skip. And I'm using the Westman contour today. I recently have been switching between the Dior contour and the Westman Atelier contour the most, I would say. But there are so many good ones. I also love the Milk contour, which I have here. This one here. It's also a great contour. The formula is brilliant. Just the packaging annoys me a little bit because it rubs off. But the formula is amazing, I have to say. But yeah, there's many contour products I really enjoy. But at the moment, it really has been this one and the Dior for me. It's also just the luxurious packaging, you know. It just adds to the whole experience. It has this sort of magnetic closure. In general, Westman Atelier just does everything so well. Back with my universal blending brush and just buffing in that contour. I always create these vertical lines here where, you know, when you think of male models, they have these sunken cheeks. This is what I'm trying to create. Or when I take photos, I always suck in my cheeks. My boyfriend always makes fun of me, but I always do this. It's ridiculous, but it just works. You just have to figure out how to not change your lips when you do it, and then you pose. Okay, that contour melted in perfectly. I'm so happy with the result. I think the skin looks incredible. What I do need is powder because I am looking quite shiny. I'm gonna use, of course, the Makeup Forever powder. So that's this one that comes with this brilliant net where you just have to tap your brush and the powder gets transferred straight onto the brush. It's the most brilliant concept. And then I'm gonna go and set a little bit. And I'm really loading up a bit with powder in the center. So right where the pores are, I find this particularly blurring and just sort of vanishing or taking away those pores or just making them look less obvious. Now, personally, I always need an eyeshadow primer. I always get a lot of creasing if I don't use an eyeshadow primer first because it's Pat McGrath. This one is going to be a bit more pricey. I also love the NARS one, the translucent colorless one, or Fenty does an amazing one. Actually, I'm gonna repurchase the Fenty one because compared to the other ones, it's more affordable, but it does the same thing. And then personally, I like to set that again with powder. I'm going to use this new palette that I have in my life. By Romand, it's the Better Than Contour palette. I'm using the color Ash Gray, I believe. And I'm going to pick up sort of a mixture of these powders, really. They are so silky, so smooth. And before even doing my eyeshadow, I'm just going to slightly go back into the contour that I placed here. These powders are just such an incredible quality. It's actually a K-beauty brand, and I got this off Stylevana, which is a site that sells K-beauty. I'm also going to do my favorite thing, which is contouring the jaw. Just really snatching it, making it look nice and sharp. Nice and sharp. You know that really cutting line here? That's what I'm really trying to enhance and bring out. Granted, I do have a bit of filler here. Actually, quite a bit of filler in my jaw here and in my chin. I had some filler removed here recently to bring back that really sort of sharp shape. I actually did a video on that. I think I actually uploaded it as a short here on YouTube as well. Okay, now back onto the eyeshadow. We've been yapping too much. I'm gonna actually zoom you in. So starting with the lightest shade, I'm going to take that all over the lid and then go right into the inner corners of the eyes in little circular motions. I always do little circles here and then I bring it into the crease. Always think of a windscreen wiper. Windscreen wiper motions, back and forth, which will deposit the color but instantly blend it out at the same time. Super easy. So just circles in the inner corner and windscreen wipers, just like this. Now it's a really light color, so it doesn't really show up that much yet. So I'm going to take a little bit more of these deeper, cool shades, and I always take some off on the back of my hand and then go right onto the lid and again inner corner and crease. This of course depends. If you already have really deep set eyes and really deep shadows in the inner corners of the eyes, this is something you can skip. You don't really need that step. My eye area is a little bit more flat. It's not that deep set. I actually like to fake this, and I think a lot of people actually have sort of less deep set eyes. So this is really flattering. And you can see how I'm really building up slowly. I like to not go in with a hefty amount straight away, but sort of build it up step by step, because you know we're creating a shadow here. We're not creating a sort of graphic cat eye look. We're really trying to convince the eye that this is a natural shadow. It's the anatomy. It's sort of creating fake bone structure, if you will. Plastic surgery with a brush. The cheapest plastic surgery you will ever have, and also the quickest. This is just something I discovered over the years because I worked as a makeup artist doing mostly women's makeup. and then doing that exact makeup on my own face, it just didn't have the same effect. Because women's faces, you know, that very feminine face shape is just completely different to what's attractive on a conventionally handsome men's face. You know, a quite masculine structured face. It's just a different thing what makes that attractive. Of course, it also depends on what you want to accentuate in your face. You can of course be really attractive as a guy with more feminine features. So I do want to clarify that. It just depends on what you want to enhance. And I really like enhancing the masculine features in my face, and creating that really deep set eye does exactly that. It really enhances the bone structure. It just makes the whole brow ridge more deep set. It makes the eyes more mysterious looking, more powerful, if you will. It pushes back the lid if you have quite a puffy lid, like I sometimes get. And it's just, it really elevates my confidence. So I do this almost every day, and it's an essential part of every look I do. I love the deep set eye contour so much. So you can really see the difference now. This is the eye with the deep set eye contour. This is without. I do keep it quite light for today, for this specific look, which is more pared back. But you can, of course, really go all out. You can go really dark. You can even use different colors for this. You can almost see this as the equivalent to a women's cat eye. This is the men's version of a women's cat eye. Repeating the same process on the other eye, starting with the lid, circles in the inner corner, and windscreen wiper motions. This is something you often see on, again, male models, because they just have that incredible face architecture, those really structured eyes. And that's actually where I got it from. When I was looking at male models' faces, I just often saw those really deep set eyes, and this is what I used to sort of replicate that look. One little thing that kind of bothers me now is that there is an area under my eyes that looks quite icy cool toned, especially next to the cheek that is quite warmed up. There's just a big contrast, and I don't think it's that flattering. Now, some people go in with a light concealer, a brightening concealer under their eyes to sort of try and remove those shadows and those blue tones, but that's actually the last thing I personally would do. I think a light brightening concealer would just look really artificial under my eyes, and I think on most men's faces, if the goal is to bring out the men's, like the masculine features, I think that's something I definitely wouldn't do. There's a couple different options, but what I'm going to do today is I'm going to use a bronzer, and I'm going to use a quite light bronzer. I'm not going in with a deep orange bronzer. I'm going in with a warm toned bronzer, but one that is relatively close to my skin tone, just a little bit darker. This is actually another bronzer by Charlotte Tilbury, and when they brought this out, I tell you, I was so happy, because it's kind of hard to find those very light bronzer shades. I want you to really be able to see the difference. I just place it right where I have the blueness, right where I have those cool blue tones under my eyes. And do you see how that magically erases that coolness and creates a connection between the under eye area and the cheek? It's no longer that divide between this really icy cool tone area and that really warm area on the cheek, but it's sort of melted together. And this is something, for some reason, we don't talk about this. We never talk about doing an under eye like this. The conversation is usually always around concealers, and I just don't believe in under eye concealers, not the classic brightening ones at least. Do you see that amazing difference? I really hope it translates in camera, because it's so subtle, but to me it's a huge difference nonetheless. I think this is so much more flattering than cancelling out those shadows. I think the shadows under the eyes are actually really attractive, depending of course how deep your under eye shadows are and if they are something that bother you. If they are heavier, because I know that mine are actually quite light, then I still wouldn't go in with an under eye concealer. I would go in with an under eye corrector, or a really light colored concealer, a really light pigmented concealer that's quite warm. So you only need the smallest amount, and you can use that almost like an under eye corrector. But yeah, I promised you to go more into depth about under eyes in another video, and I'm still gonna do that at some point. But yeah, this is one of my favorite tricks, is to use a light colored bronzer to achieve this amazing effect. I'm gonna do that on the other side as well. Et voila, this is the under eye finished, and it just looks flawless, but without that heavy look. Moving on to brows, I'm going to use a product that's relatively new to me. It's by MAC, but it's become a quick favorite. It's the It's the Pro Brow Definer. And I like this because, one, it has a spoolie, so you can really brush through your brows. And it's a quite fine spoolie. It's not one of those big ones. But the main event, of course, is the actual pen or the actual pencil. And you can see that it's really, really fine. I'm gonna try to focus the camera on it. But it's a really, really fine pen. And you can just draw really fine hairs with it. You all know I love the NYX brow pen. And I've actually run out of it, so I don't have it at the moment. But this is really, really beautiful. I'm gonna start at the tail of my brow and just fill that in a little bit. Just thicken it up a bit, because I used to pluck this tail of my brow completely away. Not pluck, didn't pluck it, because I did want the option to have it grow back one day. So I actually always shaved it off with one of these eyebrow razors. I always used one of these to literally cut this off and then filled in the hairs to make my brows look straighter, a bit more upturned and straight. But I'm kind of over that. I've done that for like 5 years, and I realized that actually my natural brow shape is quite flattering on me and is actually the brow shape I have for a reason. I also just fill in a little bit here and slightly the arch, because I still want the brows to be not quite as arched. I still want it to be a little bit straighter than what it actually is. And yes, I mean straight in terms of a line, a straight line, not in terms of sexuality, because that train has left the station a long time ago. So I went a little bit heavy-handed actually, but that's perfectly fine, because that's what the spoolie is for. With the spoolie, you can sort of take the color and it just sort of turns perfect. Then I'm gonna go into the inner corner here, the inner part rather, and just slightly thicken up that part as well. Okay, brows filled in. I'm just gonna use this brow gel by Urban Decay. This is the Big Bush Brow Gel, which is a hilarious name. And I'm just gonna, just very lightly, take some of that through the brows to just make sure they stay in place and deposit a little bit of color, because I do have a few sort of blonde hair. So this is nice to just sort of take that down a little bit. But that's it. Let's keep it really effortless. Okay, what we're gonna do to finish this first look is a bit of a lip. And I'm going to use a MAC liner. Actually, before I do that, let me just blot off the excess lip balm. I'm starting on the outside of my lip line, just slightly overlining, especially in the center of the lip. That's where I really overline quite a lot. And I also overline the lower lip. Now this will look a bit intense at first, but what I like to do is then go in with a finger and just slightly tap it in along the edges. And you can see how much bigger my lips look. I will use a lipstick actually, and I was invited recently to MAC. 2 of the products they gave me were the Viva Glam lipsticks. The one that I want to use today is called Viva Equality. And Viva Glam was, of course, originally created as a charity. So for every lipstick that is sold, there's a percentage, I believe, or the whole amount that goes to charity. The way I like using something like this is just by blotting it on. So I'm just gonna, mainly in the center, add a bit of color to my lip. And then also on top, and then just slightly feathered outwards. But I chose this color because this has this beautiful sort of brown tone. It makes me think of like a Renaissance painting. And I feel like for the festive season, that is really flattering, really fun. I'm just gonna again dab it in with my finger. And you can of course go as dramatic as you want to. I'm just gonna add a tiny bit more. I just love the effect it gives. You know, I like a natural lip. I am not really the type of person to go with a full-on bold lipstick. I like it lived in. I want it to look like that could actually be my natural lips. Something you can also do is put it on and then take a bit off. Blot it in with a tissue, you know? Because that will actually really sort of melt in the color into the lips, so it will actually last longer. Do you see that color? I think it's just a perfect sort of cinnamony winter shade. A little bit brown, sort of autumnal, but also perfect for the festive season. I really, really love this shade. By the way, I don't get paid for mentioning any of the products that I'm mentioning today. It's not sponsored at all. It's just gifted by the brands. It's PR, essentially, which I luckily receive. I'm really happy that I receive PR. It's something I always wanted, always dreamed of. So yeah, I'm really blessed in that way. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify, nothing is sponsored in this video. If I do a sponsorship, I very clearly address this in the beginning of the video. This is not something you overlook because I would be very, very clear about that. But if I get PR, sometimes I forget to say that. So I just wanted to mention that at this point, that this was gifted to me. So to really finish off the look, of course, I need to put on an outfit, but also I'm going to put on a perfume. And I'm actually going to wear Tam Dao for this look by Diptyque. And this is the Eau de Parfum version. And it's a gorgeous, really light, toned down, woody scent. It's musky, it has cedarwood, it has sandalwood, and it's almost like a skin scent. It stays relatively close to the skin, I want to say. It's not one of those, you know, balms, not one of those beasts, but it's a very sophisticated scent. It makes me think of wearing cashmere. It's luxurious, it's effortless, it's sophisticated, and it's exactly what I want to wear with this sort of look. You know, it's elevated enough, but it doesn't stand out too much. And now it's time to put on my outfit. Now for the outfit of this first look, I'm gonna go with a really simple dark blue shirt, just to really match the really pared down look that we've got going on the face. But of course, because it's so neutral, you can literally wear whatever you want with a look like this. I'm then just gonna throw over a gray sweater like this, and just have this really simple, you know, effortless, but a little bit posh looking vibe going on. I'm gonna add a hint more of this Tam Dao perfume on top of that. I love how perfume really lasts well on fabric especially. Okay, now we're going on to the second look, and I'm actually gonna build on the first look, and we're just gonna add to it. And we're gonna start with the cheeks. I've been really craving a sort of toasty, slightly glowy, warm toned looking cheek. And I've got the perfect product to create that, and it's by Tower 28. It's the Bronzino Bronzer, and it's just delicious. It's so beautiful. It's a bronzer, blush, highlighter hybrid. So we're gonna put this onto the cheek and you're gonna see the incredible effect it gives. This was actually one of my favorite products in the summer because it's just so multifaceted, and it's perfect to create a bronzed look, but it's also great to create a flushed look. I'm gonna place this in the center of my cheek and then just slowly build it up. And then sort of upwards and outwards, just buffing it slowly. And you can immediately see the incredible color and glow it brings to the cheek. It's actually astounding. It even accentuates the cheekbone, the bone structure, almost creating a shadow underneath and then highlighting the top of it. I've really never tried a product like this before. And I'm just gonna keep blending, and the excess I will literally put right high up under my eyes. Just a small amount, just to really keep that continuation going. Now, do you see the difference? It almost brought heat to my cheek. It has that warmth, that all over glow. I'm actually wanting to take a little bit even onto the forehead area here. Just again to have that continuity. Just also make sure to lightly hit the ear here and a little bit down the neck. The goal is always to make everything look natural, even if it's a bit extra and enhancing like this product. If you're on the beach, for example, or even on a night out and you just want to touch up with some color, you can just toss this into your bag and just apply it on the go like this. And it's gonna be really flattering. And as always, take a little bit onto the nose bridge, right along to tie everything in together. And then just reset with the powder just in the center of the face where I've become a bit glowy again. On the little bit of chest here that's peeking out, I also want to take a little bit of that with that big brush and just warm that up slightly. Of course, you gotta be careful. If you wear light clothing or even white, you shouldn't really be doing this. So always see, but because I'm wearing literally dark blue, it's actually fine. And that's how this made my skin look. I'm in love with it. And I'm actually gonna wear this on Christmas because I've not really worn this in the autumn. I worn it a lot in the summer, but I'm so happy I pulled it back out because the effect is just so, so gorgeous. It has this warmth, it has this luminosity, it gives a flush to the skin. It just sort of seems to do a bit of everything. And in fact, I want to take a little bit onto the lip because we're not going to really use another lip product. Okay, that's a bit too much. Looks a little bit too metallic. But I'm going to buff it in and just use a hint more of a liner. This is the other MAC color that I like. It's Whirl. I've been using Whirl for years. I'm just going to slightly overline the top. And again, keep buffing until it looks as natural as you want it to. So I'm about to go in with some more eyeshadow. So I'm just going to slightly buff in some of the eyeshadow that I applied earlier, just so we can get a little bit more of a neutral base. But to be honest, because it was very natural, I'm actually really happy for it to still shine through. There's just something about the skin, it looks luxurious, like it looks expensive. Almost like I've had a facial on vacation. Now to make this look a bit more exciting, a little bit more fun and festive, we're gonna use as a final step now this Romant Quad. Now Romant again is a K-beauty brand and everything I've tried so far from the brand I love. All of it I got on Stylevana, I purchased it myself. But this little quad has these really beautiful warm tones. And because we warmed up the skin so much now, the lips, the cheeks, everything is a lot warmer than when I started. We can actually contour with these shades and still have a really natural effect and really bring out the eye color I naturally have. Depending on the color, of course, that you naturally have. If you have green eyes, blue eyes, gray eyes, this type of color will really make them stand out. But even brown eyes really benefit from those warm tones. I'm gonna again zoom you in a bit closer. And starting with the lightest shade of the quad, just tapping off the excess on the back of my hand, I'm gonna go right onto the lid and just create a little bit of a base layer for the eyeshadow, a little bit of that warmth. And then I'm gonna go right into the inner corner. Again, exactly the motions we did before. Little circles and then windscreen wiper motions. Now the shadow has really good pigment, so I actually didn't need a lot, but that already really created that shape, or really emphasized the shape that we already sort of emphasized earlier. But because the skin, the lips, everything is warm toned now, we can get away with those warm toned shades. I'm then going to deepen up the shadow with a little bit of that darker shade. I'm actually going to mix these two together to really get that warm, rusty sort of shade, almost mimicking the bronzer we applied on our cheeks earlier. And again, going onto the lid, I always like to bring a little bit more depth and darkness onto the lid just to make it look less puffy. The excess you can then just slightly bring underneath here, almost blend into the under eye shadow. Now it's still going to be a subtle eye look, you know, because that's just what my taste is right now. What I tend to prefer are those really subtle enhancing looks, but of course you can go more dramatic if you want to. Now you can totally leave it like this, but because it's a festive occasion, I'm actually going to take some of this glitter shade and I'm going to place it right into the inner corners of the eyes. Personally, I like to focus it right here onto the lower part of the inner corner and just add a bit of that glitter shade. Now I did get a little bit of fall down, but that's okay. We're going to take care of that later. It'll all be fine. So I'm just going to go in with the powder brush and slightly dust away the glitter that has fallen down. It won't pick up everything, but I mean, these particles are so small. I don't really mind them at all. Just adds to that, you know, effortless lived-in eye look. But of course, what is often advised and what you can totally do is apply the eye look first and then do sort of a cleanup and then go in with the rest of your complexion. This shimmer shade is so beautiful. It has this sort of peachy, dusty warmth to it that will really make the eyes shine in the most beautiful way. Adding some of the sparkle on this eye, just in the inner corner. Now when I apply a slightly smoky look like this, I do like to tightline. And I'm actually going to use this Burgundy Eyeliner by Charlotte Tilbury. It's the Pillow Talk liner. It really is this beautiful sort of burgundy brown shade. And I'm going to lift up my eyelid and just paint it onto the waterline. Now this is really awkward to do in the monitor, so I'm actually going to pull out my mirror for this. But yeah, you just want to go right where the lashes grow out of and just create some darkness and depth, especially in the outer corner and then also in the inner corner. It will just visually thicken up the lashes and also make the eye look a little bit more purposeful. You know, the last thing we want is the eyeshadow to look like an eye infection. So we need to create some borders with eyeliner. Now it's just the waterline, so again, really, really subtle, but it does make a difference. You can of course also use a brown or even a black for this. I just chose this warm burgundy shade to really go with the cheek and the eye look. Now we're almost done, but to finish off the eye look, we're going to use a lash curler. It doesn't cover the whole lash band. It only covers a part of the lashes. And I think it's actually much more flattering for a masculine eye look to just curl on the outer corners of the eyes. Because if you curl in the center, it will sort of open up the eyes more and give you more of an open-eyed, round-eyed look, which kind of looks a bit more feminizing. Whereas if you keep it on the outer corner lashes, it will just give you more of an upturned eye effect. Now this takes a little bit of training, just do it a few times. It's not difficult, especially with this one. It's actually really easy because you just grab the lashes, you do a few crunches, a few presses, and it really easily sort of picks them up and elevates them. Now I did a few more curls and hopefully you can see a difference. If you can't, it's because my lashes are just so invisible. But I'm gonna now use a mascara, and this is my favorite mascara, again by Romand, because it's incredibly subtle. It's not like a full-on black, thick, lengthening mascara. It's actually quite sheer mascara, and it's an ashy shade, so more of a gray tone. And I'm just gonna pick up the lashes, go into the inner, sort of the roots of the lashes first. So really deposit most of the color there, and then lightly fan outwards, just like this. Do you see that? So again, a really subtle difference, but that is what we're here for. This is what my channel is about. It's quite subtle enhancements. That's what I love the most. I'm also going to take a little bit into the inner corner here and just through the lashes here in general, but especially the inner corners here. Now repeating the same on the other eye, and that's the final look. Enhancing, but subtle, a little bit of festive sparkle, but you know, still really bringing out those features we want to bring out. I'm gonna do another outfit change and we're gonna apply some more perfume. So for this look, I wanna stick with those warm, ready tones. I always love this sort of burgundy for the cooler months and festive season. And I'm gonna finish it off with one of my most special perfumes. This is Crimson Rocks by Amouage, and actually my boyfriend gave this to me exactly a year ago at Christmas. Now this perfume is incredibly special. Amouage is a really luxurious perfume house that I actually had the pleasure to work with a few times in London. I used to work in sales for perfume brands and Amouage was one of my favorites. Now Crimson Rocks is spicy, it's intense, it has notes of rose, it has cinnamon, honey, it has cardamom. It's a rich, spicy, sweet gourmand. If I really broke it down, it smells like a really rich person. I actually often wear this when I need to feel powerful, when I have a meeting and I just need to show up and take up space and not be like a shy little person in the corner, but really be loud and show myself in the best light. It's definitely a beast mode sort of scent. It doesn't hold back. It's also just really, really sexy. It has this sort of boudoir feel to it. But there we have it. This is the final look. Please let me know which look you prefer, the first one or the second one. I really love both. I'm absolutely gonna wear the Bronzino bronzer. I'm in love with this. I feel like I've rediscovered this. It's brilliant. And I also really, really love the eye look. I feel like it's polished, but it's special. But thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe and say hi in the comments. I'm always open for your questions. Anything you want to know, any video ideas, I'm very happy to hear. And see you in the next one. Bisous, bisous, yours truly.